Shall we have a little chat about the title race in the Premier League? Because this time last week, Merce, you were sat here, you were watching your old team Gunners struggling and in the end losing against West Ham. You were talking and we felt, given that Liverpool had Man City to come and Newcastle United midweek, it might be a little bit early to be talking about open-top bus parades and booking the bus already. But it is now, isn't it, a question not of if, but when. For Liverpool.
What, they book it or what? Oh, sorry. I thought you meant when they book it.
We're going to get a film of you booking an open-top bus before the end of the season.
It's just a matter... It's how many points. How many points from now on? They just got to stay concentrated, just got to keep on performing. They've been absolutely outstanding. You know, it will be being so professional because you've got the Champions League now in between, you know, 2 big games against PSG. They've just got to... As long as they tick along, they'll be all right. They can afford 3 or 4 free slip-ups and they'll be all right. But, yeah, they won't want that to happen. They'll want to keep on doing what they do. And, yeah, I've been outstanding. I think, you know, the Man City game won that comfortably, in my opinion, and then Newcastle as well. So, yeah, I can't talk highly enough of them. I mean, that record. I done the game against Nottingham Forest here when they lost. And I thought, oh, my God, I wasn't impressed at all. I thought they're going to... could struggle here a bit.
Didn't they not learn a lot from that game? That low block, they were frustrated, they couldn't find an answer, but as the season has gone on, when teams have tried to do that again, they found a way around it. It almost came at a good time so early in the season. Yeah, I think so. I think it did. I think the other thing was it was straight after the international break. You know, I think with Slot being in Holland, I don't think it's the same as the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? I think when you come back from a weekend, you know, in Holland, there's a massive gulf, do you know what I mean? When you come back to the Premier League here, the lesser teams have got a good chance of beating you. It's a real leveller. And I think that taught him a lesson. I think it did. And I think it was one of them as well where that game was going nowhere. It was 0-0. And I thought the Wolves manager, Nunes, the Forest manager, done great, Nunes. At 60 minutes, he just went, you know what? I'm going to put on the wingers with speed, with Elanga and Hudson-Odoi, and they ripped them apart. Yeah. And I think he learnt there where... sometimes when it ain't going great, just be patient, do you know what I mean? And just take a draw here and there. But I think they've been absolutely outstanding. They've had a big advantage. They haven't had any injuries, do you know what I mean? Yeah. You know, the Rolls-Royce at the back, Van Dijk's played every game. You know, Salah plays every game. You know, so that's a big thing. But, Tim, despite that, you look at the last couple of weeks for Liverpool. I mean, as Arsenal's injury crisis deepened, and Mercer's absolutely right to point out on that front, they've been incredibly fortunate this season. But then you look at the 4 games, 11 points from 15 against Everton, Wolves, Aston Villa, Man City and Newcastle midweek. Is one of their greatest strengths this season, their relentless consistency. Absolutely. We're talking about a group of players who have been there and done it and won the biggest trophies, you know, so they've got that calm head about them. Got a fantastic squad of players, let's have it right. I think the manager, the best thing he's done is not done a lot. You know, he's gone in there and kept it pretty simple. You know, it's not broken, so why fix it? So what he has done, he's made some happy players, you know, and he's tweaked it a little bit. Gravenberch in that midfield area. Szoboszlai has been absolutely magnificent for me, and McAllister in midfield. They've got so many options off the bench. He's finding a way of keeping everyone happy. You can generally do that as a manager when you win every football match, you know. And I think going back to the injuries one, I think we've got to give him a lot of credit for that as well. It's not always luck that you keep your players fit. Sometimes it's by design, what you're doing in training. And I think a lot of teams like Arsenal have been crippled with injuries, Tottenham as well. They need to look at how they're training them from day to day in between games, and I think Liverpool have got it absolutely spot on. Of course, there can be contact injuries and a bit of luck, but when there's muscle injuries, you have to look at your sports science. You know, we talk a lot about these sports science guys in these clubs now. There is so many of them. They need to do better, and the medical teams need to do better as well to keep them fit. Do you think though, with the injuries, it might be me, but a lot of these pitches, training grounds now, they're literally like that, but painted green. They're just beautiful, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? No one gets muddy, so you're constantly just pounding. I don't know if that's one of the reasons.
It could be Merce, but I wouldn't think Liverpool are sloshing around in mud.
But when you're playing loads of games, I mean, Arsenal have just been bang unlucky. They have been unlucky.
Yeah, and I think the injury debate is something we need to explore more between now and the end of the season. Sue, when you look at what happened midweek against Newcastle United, I mean, the way that Eddie Howe set his side up against Liverpool midweek. In terms of Liverpool performances this season, where does that one rank?
Yeah, good. I think they've just impressed me. I think you looked at the 3 games that they had coming up, and they were tricky games, weren't they? You looked at Aston Villa, Newcastle and Manchester City, and the performance from Liverpool. There's lots of standout performances. You could have picked Diaz in this. I thought he was very good. I like him off the left. I know he can play central as well. Szoboszlai again, who we've highlighted as being a key player, but the individual players, yes, but it's also how they work as a team, and I think that's been so impressive for me. Exactly the same against Manchester City, but again, a really top quality finish. That midfield area has been key for Liverpool with Gravenberch and McAllister, Szoboszlai, that energy. But I think also Slot deserves a lot of praise.
And in the stands for that game, and
yeah,
no
it's
problem.
Just the way that he tweaks his system, the way that he'll bring certain personnel in for different games. Like when they played Manchester City, again, tweaked things slightly, and he does that in game. And the way that I suppose Liverpool can play different ways within a game, even if they can go from back to front so quickly and cause teams so many problems, they can also have that controlled possession if they need to. They can sit back and be defensive, which they had to do against Manchester City. So they've got that ability to even tweak in game. So there's so many positives for Liverpool. You could go on all day about them, the players, the manager, and obviously in a very good position at the moment.
And there was a lot of talk, Dawson, at the start of the season about Slot inheriting essentially a garage full of Ferraris, terrific players, but you still got to get a tune out of them. And my goodness me, he has done over the course of the season. As we continue to explore the comparisons between his predecessor Jurgen Klopp and what Arne Slot has done so far this season, and as Merce was saying, now just a question of when, not if, they win the Premier League title. What for you has been the single most obvious change under Slot from what we saw under Jurgen Klopp?
I think the calmness in game management. You talk about when Arne Slot, you talk about how quick the counter-attack was. It was 100 miles an hour, and that could have played into the injuries as well. And you look at the possession here, it's down on when Klopp was there. Goals per game, very, very similar. Shots per game is well down, because that's where your game management comes in at times when I've looked at them and they've been under a little bit of pressure, and they sit back, they surrender that. That's no problem. We'll defend as a team, we'll work right. Even against Manchester City, you go there and the wider players, they work tirelessly hard, incredible. We could talk about how good they are in the attacking third, but out of possession, they work as hard as any other team.
And interestingly, double the amount of goals from fast breaks than we saw under Jurgen Klopp. 6 under him, 13 under Slot so far.
Yeah.
Would you have expected to see that at the start of the season?
Probably not. Because we've always talked about when Jurgen Klopp was there, it was attacking football, it was free-flowing. But then I've said there, he surrenders possessions at time. He'll go, no problem. We don't have to be creative all the time. We'll be good out of possession. And I think that's where he's tweaked it. And Gravenberch, for me, is one. There's been so many heroes in that team, but he's an unsung hero that no one really talks about. That holding midfielder, you see McAllister in midweek, it gives him the freedom to go up and join in with the attacking threat. But you still have to have stability and reliability in that position. And whenever he has it, it's played in from a defender. He never gives it away. He's understanding if your fullbacks have got. He picks up position. And Gravenberch, for me, is one that no one talks about. And it's all well and good scoring goals, and Diaz was magnificent. But that, as a defender, having that security has been huge for your players up the top end of the field to express themselves.
That graphic there, goals on fast breaks. Everyone would be shocked by that, because I think the gung-ho football was...
the heavy metal football.
And it absolutely was. And they were fantastic at it. And they got the ball forward to the most attacking, quick players, what they've still got as well. They've changed personnel. The difference is they're more clinical now when they're getting into the final third. And the reason being is because they can mix their game up, they can control the game, they can bring teams onto them. And then when they're breaking, people don't know what to expect. Whereas with Jurgen's side, there's not a criticism, because they were magnificent as well. You knew what to expect. It was predictable. They were going to come on. They're going to be 100 mile an hour. We're going to come at you in wide areas.
So is the variety of the attacks been
exactly?
Key?
I think it's key. It's key always in any football team, especially you're a top team, when you can mix it up and you can change it in game as well, and you have a certain amount of control. He talks about control a lot. You couldn't say that Jurgen Klopp's side had a lot of control in games. They would overrun teams. The power they have and the clinical finishing what they have. But I just think now they're more balanced. A little bit more balanced, and I think it's not a dramatic change what he's made, but certain tweaks what this guy's come in and implemented has been absolutely magnificent. The best thing about it is that he's got people smiling there now. You know, I thought it most...
Well, it helps when you're winning.
I thought of course, it's easy when you're doing that. But I've said it here before, and I'll say it again. Mo Salah is key. He's a genius. At the end of last season, or being midway through last season, he had a stand-up row with Jurgen Klopp at the London Stadium. It thought it was the beginning of the end for him. All of a sudden, this man's come in, he's put his arm around him, told him to give him his last season. Perhaps he stays for longer. Let's hope so for the Premier League's sake and for our sake, because we want him in this country. And I just think the guy he's a difference.
And Dominik Szoboszlai, Mercy, he was player of the match against Newcastle United in midweek, got a goal as well, his 5th Premier League goal of the season. Under Arne Slot, has he become a more complete player for Liverpool this season?
Yeah, I thought he was outstanding last season. I thought he was probably one of the best signings of the season. I thought he started well, probably caught up with him towards the end of the season. This season, this lad, he works hard, he runs off the ball. It's an art running off the ball. You know, people want to work when they've got the ball at their feet. People don't really want to work when they haven't got the ball at their feet. He will make runs for the team, and he look at the distances he covers, but he's not one of them who just runs everywhere. He's very precise in when he makes his runs, and he gets himself into good positions. I think he's a top player. I really do.
I mean, that distance cover there underlines what you're saying.
Yeah.
Top-ranked player. I mean, Steve Nicola saw this week, the former Liverpool player, to describe him as having a 4th lung.
Yeah, but some people run around and they don't affect the game. They'll run around, but he affects the game, whether it be a run taking players away for Salah to get the ball or whatever it may be. He's top draw player. But he can only work when he's got Gravenberch and McAllister. Yeah. You know, it all works in a cycle. You know, if he goes and plays somewhere else and starts running here and making runs there, then they get picked off. But, you know, everybody knows what they're doing. They're all singing off the same hymn sheet, and that's the thing. When they break, they all break together. When they defend, they all defend together, and that's the recipe for success.
Let's talk about how many points Liverpool could win the title by. Just having a look at previous records in terms of gaps come the end of the season. It's Man City from the 2017-18 season who did it by 19 points, and then Liverpool in the COVID years, 18 points, 2019-20 they won the title by. Tim, just how big could the gap be?
It could be anything. I mean, that's down to who's going to finish second, and I say that because I'm not 100% sure it's going to be Arsenal. With the problems they have in attacking options, if Saka was to come back now, I think he gives them an extra boost, and they would go
potentially after the international break. They're talking about Saka coming.
Well, that's not too bad. That's encouraging for Arsenal fans. It's not going to be good enough, and it's too late to win the Premier League, but to finish in the top 3 and perhaps finish runners up, but it doesn't matter, doesn't it? It doesn't matter where you finish as long as you're in the Champions League spots if you're not lifting the trophy. So it could be anything, and it's not down to Liverpool. Liverpool will drop points between now and the end of the season, but it's who's going to pick up maximum points going in. Not sure anyone's going to be. I think it's only going to get bigger. That's the only thing I could say. I think the gap will only get bigger than what it is now.
Now, let's just be honest. From our point of view, from a totally selfish point of view, we like a title race that goes long. Listen, if you're a Liverpool fan, you're absolutely delighted by what's happening at the moment, Sue. But as we look back at the biggest points gaps that have been overturned down the years, I mean, it does underline how hard it is to do. The gap, 13 points at the moment, and Man United, the leaders, at Arsenal, overturned them in 97-98. That was the last time it's done. I was going to mention Norwich City there, 92-93, the first Premier League season. Man United, in the end, overturning a 12-point gap. I can't even believe I'm reading those kind of numbers about Norwich City. But, I mean, listen, it's unlikely. Can you give us any hope of a little twist along the way, or is it pretty much for you done?
Yeah, I think most people do think it is, but it's funny because when you speak to Liverpool fans, even now, they're still saying, well... Hang on a minute, Arsenal have got a game in hand. If they win that, it goes down to 10 points.
Tell Mercer to stop talking about open-top buses.
Yeah, we've got to play each other. If they win that, it could go down to 7 points, but can you actually see that happening? I think it's because of Arsenal's injuries and the way that, you know, the attacking line-up's so decimated. It's going to be difficult for them to continue to be absolutely perfect. And it's difficult to see Liverpool slipping up as well. I know they've, you know, dropped the odd point, but the fact they've only been beaten once this season in the Premier League, I think, just shows that the quality and the calibre that they've got. I've heard some people say, oh, well, what about complacency? I've not seen any sign of complacency with Liverpool. You know, the way that Slot keeps them going, the way that the players are just that winning mentality. So, yeah, that gap could be could be big.
And just finally.